Prime Minister Stuart says Mia Mottley and David Comissiong are blood relatives. That's our top story in our Barbados Today morning news update for Wednesday, February the 28th. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Thanks for joining us. Prime Minister Stuart has warned that a Barbados Labour Party-sponsored political agenda could be at play in terms of the ongoing legal challenge by Attorney-at-Law and social activist David Comissiong that has served to frustrate his government's attempts to get the construction of the multi-million-dollar Hyatt-centric hotel off the ground. Stuart further suggested that it may be just coincidental that the leader of the opposition, Mia Mottley, and Comissiong are first cousins. It will now be much easier to extradite local fugitives back to Barbados from neighboring Caribbean countries. This is being made possible thanks to the revised CARICOM Arrest Warrant Treaty signed yesterday by Prime Minister Stuart at the 29th intersessional meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of CARICOM in Haiti. That treaty is aimed at simplifying the process of surrender of fugitives from one participating member state to another for the purpose of criminal prosecution. In other news now, the powerful Barbados Workers Union is calling on the government to get back to the negotiating table without further delay to discuss wages and salaries for public officers. General Secretary Tony Moore has complained that Stuart, who is also responsible for the public service, has failed to keep his word to reconvene a meeting with the social partnership to assess the performance of the National Social Responsibility Levy, which he had linked to any possible pay rise. Moore expressed concern that there was yet to be a follow-up meeting since the one in August last year with the full social partnership, during which the Prime Minister again committed to reviewing the performance of the NSRL at the end of September last year. The NSRL went into force on July the 1st last year.
Up to now, we have not had the benefit of that review, which was committed in a meeting at that level in June, which was again committed in August to the full social partnership, that we would be able to get back to that point where we could make an assessment of the NSRL's ability to undertake salary increases and a number of other things that our economy needs to have addressed at this time.
Monday's decision by the Supreme Court mandating that all Commonwealth citizens who meet the requirements under the Representation of the People's Act have a right to vote in Barbados should not impact on this country's readiness for the next general election. This view was espoused by Attorney-at-Law Wilfred Abrams during a press conference at the Barbados Bar Association's office at Robert Street, the city, yesterday afternoon to discuss the implications of Chief Justice Sir Marson Gibson's ruling in the case of 4 non-nationals who successfully challenged the exclusion from the country's voters list. It was revealed that a large number of eligible non-nationals have already signed up to vote.
When the election is called, within 48 hours, a list has to be prepared. And then again 40 hours before the election date. So quite often what happens in between that first list and the second list, you get a flood of people registering or changing or whatnot. So there is, the government's going to subject itself to a lot of work in difficult times. But the faster we get to applying the process, the faster the people get registered. And what you then potentially run a risk of is if people are qualified and they've applied and they don't get registered, a lot of other things can flow from that.
The Barbados Defense Force received a $6 million boost to its disaster preparedness and response capabilities with a donation of equipment from China. The equipment comprises 4x4 vehicles, a mobile kitchen, a refrigerator van, a tractor, and a vessel.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Welcome back with news from the region now. The councillor of a village in Trinidad has described it as a disaster zone after massive coastal erosion caused a house to fall into the sea and 4 others were on the brink of collapse yesterday. The incident forced 5 families from Bamboo Village, Cedros, to be evacuated during the evening. About 400 meters of the Bamboo Village Extension Road collapsed into the Columbus Bay, and electricity poles were also torn down, rendering the village without power and throwing it into darkness at nightfall, and water lines were also dislodged. Minister of Works and Transport, Rohan Sinanan, admitted that the country has a serious coastal erosion problem and will now have to rethink where people are allowed to build.
There is some coastal erosion as well as Tobago, and it is something that at the Ministry of Works and Transport we are taking very seriously. We do have a coastal unit who are at this time on a program where we've been mapping out all the areas of coastal erosion and actually looking at what we have to do going forward. Because there's coastal erosion in Mayaro, just as serious as what we saw in Cedros. We have in Mottley, we have in several areas in Mantalina. So we do have a serious coastal problem, and I think it is a wake-up call because we need to now clearly understand where we're building, how we're building, and we have to take into consideration that global warming and the seas are not going to be friendly towards us in these areas.
On the international scene, a Siberian weather system has brought snow and bitterly cold temperatures to much of the continent. Feel the body-shivering, teeth-shattering story in this Euronews report.
Getting to work is no fun when the beast from the east is in town. Commuters in parts of the UK woke up to snow, strong winds and the coldest temperatures for years. Despite efforts to keep roads clear, there's been widespread travel disruption and hundreds of schools have closed. The Siberian weather system set to continue for much of the week, and southern Europe hasn't been spared. In Italy, a low of -40 Celsius was recorded less than 100 kilometres from Venice. Air, rail and road travel have been affected, and in Rome, fountains have frozen. The city has seen its heaviest snowfall in 6 years. Bad news for tourists pelted with snowballs on an open-top bus.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook. We are also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Have a fantastic day.